Man, I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to interview my good friend Derek Champagne. Derek is a true entrepreneur without a question from a very early age. Derek's always been interested in fostering connections and finding an audience in both the marketing and the music field. And now Derek is the CEO of the Artist Evolution. Hey, Derek, how's it going, buddy?
Aaron, thanks so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
Golly, I can't even believe that you were willing to take the time for me to interview you. This is like such a privilege for me. We're mastermind brothers in ISI,
Yes.
and we do some business together. You're helping me, man, so graciously with my book launch, View from the Top. And I just can't tell you how excited. I'm at a loss of words to say I'm so excited that you're willing to do this interview with me. So thank you.
Well, people that know me well, and you do, I get giddy about doing campaigns and tinkering with campaigns and helping make the complicated simple and flexing the whole execution side of things, because I see it missed often, and it's just one of my favorite things to do. So,
Well, you're awesome, man. Thank you for doing that.
thanks.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell us how you got started in this world that you're in now, and catch us up to speed a little bit.
Well, like many of us, I got quite an interesting background, but I'll tell the short story. My parents were touring musicians, Christian musicians, back in the 70s, early 80s. And so I was actually on the road with them, seeing how they responded to audiences and how they would interact. And my mom wrote over 400 songs and touched the lives of many people. So from
Wow.
an early age, I was on stage with them and learning to perform and just learning how to captivate or motivate an audience. So they came from a very authentic place. As I grew up, I had the same passion for music, but also for business. So from an early age myself, I was always trying to figure out, how do we get this music or this product or service over to the end user? So the second internet was available, I was using it. The second you could have a website, I was probably the first person I knew that had a website. When I turned 18, I had bulk mailing permits. Bulk mailing permits, the first thing I did, and I was mailing out 200 press kits a month to youth pastors and to churches all from here to Nashville, and in between booking shows. And so reading your book, which I love, we have a similar story in how we find a way to get things done. I had a janitorial business at one time, and I would be up at 3 a.m. following the newspaper out, putting my flyers in so people call and say, we saw you in the newspaper. So I resonated with that in your book. So similar throughout all of the businesses and things I've done. Bought my first business at 20. It was a franchise, and I built it up and sold it. Had a couple more companies. Moved to Los Angeles, and I was in the music industry for several years out there. I was the bass player at Johnny Depp's club, the Viper Room.
Oh, wow. I don't even think I knew that.
And
That's
that's
pretty
what we
cool.
did. I booked all kinds of shows out there in the Sunset Strip and did that for a long time. Met my wife out there, had an opportunity to switch to medical marketing, whole long story. But longer story short, now, several years later, I own an agency, and we work with clients from Domino's Pizza to other household names. Princeton University, we've done all kinds of branding projects with clients like that. But at our core, we really started to help the small business owner and just help make the complicated more simple. And so that's been my passion for many years, and it's just evolved. I've been able to do close to 1,000 or over 1,000 consults now, reviewing of brands, and been able to find out what some of the common crisis points are, and just identify more quickly in an audit where we can make easier improvements.
Well, what are some of the common crisis points in marketing? What are some of those?
These are things I've seen from multi-billion dollar brands who usually figure it out before they get there, but some haven't, to startups. So we try to help do it right the first time. And that is, number one is understanding who you are. And these sound really simple. And you and I have talked about this before, and I realize not everybody's doing this. And that's why I preach about it. Number one, understanding who you are really. What makes you different? What's your unique story?
Yeah.
How do you fit in the marketplace? Why should you be here? Why should your product or service even be here? You got to really know the answer to that. It's important. It's critical, or you don't know how to adjust in the marketplace and be relevant. Number two is, who is your target? Surprised, but not anymore really, how many businesses either don't stay in touch with who their target is, their target customer. It's called avatar quite often in our ISI groups. But I call it the target customer. We segment them. So we say, how many types of customers are there that I need to outreach with my product or service? What do they look like? We break them out by their unique communication needs, their unique desires that they have, their unique buying patterns. What do I need to do to make my service or product relevant to them? And so there's steps you need to take to make sure you do that. The third one is having the improper tools. I did an audit review this morning of a company that's pushing their products nationally, internationally, trying to reach cruise lines, Walmart, Sam's Club, all kinds of other big companies, Barnes & Noble, and their product and their tools just don't match who they're trying to talk to. So whenever they're doing all this outreach, they're doing this national outreach, and when their visitor gets there, it doesn't match what they've been sharing. And so the tools don't work. Some small adjustments in your tools can make a big difference in the effectiveness of your marketing campaign.
You know, some of the things that we've been doing here that you've been having me go through some of these exercises for the book launch is, you know, what is it? Why? When? Where? You got to answer all these questions. And as I've been diving into this, like, why did I even write the book? And what is it going to be used for? And how I'm going to direct people to go to where with it. Man, this is like, oh my goodness, this is a lot to think about. It's not just, hey, this is a good book. Big A wrote it. Check it out. I wished it was that simple, but as you've kind of guided me through this, it's an amazing experience.
Well, thank you. You know, the main thing is for especially something like making a marketing tool like your book, it's not just a marketing tool. It's sharing your story. It's your heart. It's your passion. So that's even a little bit more specific, which I like. I talked with someone a couple hours before our call. After our mastermind call, I did another consult, and I said, what is it that you want right now? What are your goals for this? Don't let it consume you and take over you. Make sure your tools are something that are working for you, and similar with your book and my book, anyone's products and services or tools they have. You want to make sure that it's a tool for you and it doesn't take you on a ride that you don't want to go on.
Yeah.
So what are you really looking for?
Yeah. And that's difficult. Sometimes we just think, well, we just want to put it out there. But when you make persons think through this process, oftentimes it changes, it pivots. It's like, oh man, I didn't even think about that, and it takes you down a different road. So you talk about understanding your competition.
Yeah, that's critical, and I find that to be something that's overlooked often as well. It's an important exercise, and that looks like taking the time to actually understand who is your direct and your indirect competition. Who's someone that your customer would buy from instead of you, and why? And then look at all the things that they're doing. So we do a profile. I've shared a graph before, and we can share that again when this goes up, that shows all the things you should profile with your competition. So for every plan that we put together to understand our competition, we make sure that we're understanding everything they're doing on social media. What are they doing well? What are they missing the mark on? What kind of reviews do they have? Where are they in the marketplace? And it's not so that you can copy them. It's so that you know where there's a gap. Whenever you know there's a gap in the marketplace, you can better identify where there's a space for your product. Sometimes that changes how you share your messaging, right? If there's too much noise, and I hear that often, there's just too much noise around my product. Well, then we need to find out how to cut through the clutter so that your product is tip of tongue and top of mind. And that's done, one, by understanding, like I mentioned earlier, who your customers are and understanding who your competitors are. You want an entire understanding of your landscape before you start spending money. In the book, I talk about understanding those things first before we spend any money. Oftentimes we see money missed or spent, and there's just guesswork for the client. There's guesswork for the business. They just don't know how well their tools are working for them.
So what level of understanding your competition do you go for? Like how much time, how much energy when you're studying is it ongoing? Like these brands that you're always studying your competition? Is it at the beginning stages?
Definitely at the beginning stages.
Okay.
And I talk about some mistakes that brands make or that lies businesses tell themselves, but one of them is, I don't have any competition. And usually we end up finding that's not true. 99% of the time we find out there's something similar. And when there's not, we celebrate. We get scared, we celebrate, we get ready to climb the mountain. And then we also get ready for someone to come up behind us, because if it's a good enough idea, they're coming behind us, right? So we want to stay ahead of it. But the level of detail as you can get, learn everything you can about all your immediate competition, and then do understand who your indirect competitors are, because if there's someone not buying from you because of something else, you want to know that. That's money out of your pocket. So it's as important to understand who's your indirect competition. For example, if you're a movie theater and someone's going to stay home or go to a restaurant, or what are all the other things they could do instead? So you've got to make going to the movies the most important thing in their life, and you've got to give them compelling reasons why they should do it. Because there's so much competition, saturated competition of everything else they could do instead of come see your product.
Everything's vying for our time. Right? Our dollars and our time and our energy, and we've got to be top of mind. You talk about target segmentation. Talk to us about that just a little bit.
That's really the exercise of breaking down your target, breaking down your customer, and putting them into different subset groups.
Give me an example. Take some industry and give me kind of an example of how you could target?
Sure. I'll make this one's really simple. We work with a ton of oral surgeons and doctors, so this one's pretty obvious. But an oral surgeon has the public that they're marketing to, the patient, but they're also marketing to referrals. So those are two very different communication needs. They're talking to the referring offices, referring dentists, or talking to the general customer. They're completely different conversations about why you should use our practice or choose our practice over somebody else. We've often seen medical practices, though, talking to everybody the same. So anytime you identify unique, so let's do another example. Let's say you have a product that appeals to females 50 plus, but it also appeals to a 20-something male. How are you going to talk to them differently? The product might have value to both of them. It might be an energy drink. It might be something, whatever it is. But there's very different communication needs, and they're going to be in different places. When we identify who our target is, here's the biggest value. We suddenly see where they are. We know what their environment is. So now I know where mom is after school. I know where mom is during the day. I know how to reach her. I know her age group, and I'm able to subset out and understand better what tools and what venues I choose for advertising, and I understand how to better talk to them. I know what's important to mom. I know it's important to female 50 plus, where she is. So female 50 plus, if that's your target, I'm going to say, you know what, Facebook's a great fit for you. Why didn't you say that was who your target was? We can make that. That's who's running Facebook right now. They're driving usage up, especially on mobile. So let's do some ads. So suddenly, are Facebook ads good or bad? I don't know. Who do you want to talk to? About what? And until we know that, we can't answer. But it's amazing when you break down your target, how much easier it is to talk to them because you understand who they are better, and you can have unique ways of communicating with them that resonate. And that's the biggest thing in advertising or talking. I don't like even saying the word advertising. And having a conversation is about how do you make a connection, an emotional connection with them in a way that makes them want to respond.
I know recently you sent me a strategic plan about how to launch View from the Top, and I went through that, and I teased some guys that said I wanted to throw up when I got through reading this. I was so nervous, and you just so methodically lay it out. Here's the central focus, and here are all the things that we're going to do on social media and print ads and radio and TV and this, and you've got to get this team. Why is it so important from your perspective to have this strategic plan?
Without a plan, we just don't know what we're supposed to do next. There's a lot, even when good things are happening, and I would say especially when good things are happening, because I often hear, well, I'm busy, I don't need a plan, or we're doing well, I don't need a plan. That's when you really want to plan, because then you can see where your resources are going, and you understand where you want to get, and then you use your resources to get you there. So you saw me firsthand inventory what we had first, and also set our objectives. Well, then we were able to put all the pieces in place. For me, it's like a chess game, or it's like a good fun game of checkers. It's just you put everything out on the table and organize it, and then you see where it all needs to go. A plan allows you to stay on that board and go to the end and get the king and the queen. The plan.
Checkmate, baby. Checkmate. That's where you're headed.
Without that plan, you don't know where you're going, and good things get wasted. Let me give you a quick example. So often I see good things happen to companies that are newsworthy. Maybe it's a big event they did. Maybe they got national attention. Maybe the president contacted them and gave them an award, or whatever it is, and they squandered it. We like to look at everything before, during, and after. Any event, anything that can happen good to a company before, during, and after, and see how it's relevant to our plan, to our objectives that we set out. And so then we're never disappointed. We might have to adjust sometimes, but if something good happens, we know how to promote it. We know how to distribute it. We know where it goes. And when you have a plan in place, it allows your entire team and all your resources to go into that plan so you can get a lot more done. Wow. And so same for you, Aaron. You have all this great stuff going on and you need a plan to focus where it goes. Or we go, man, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, I feel overwhelmed sometimes, but you always draw me back to center. You're always like, here, let's just do this task today. I know that the 12-week year has been very instrumental in your business success. In the past several months, you've implemented that strategy, and it's the same thing there. You just stay focused. You do the task each and every day. You don't focus on the goal. You focus on the task, and I know it's been very beneficial for you. So listen, another thing that you talk about also, tell us what the difference is in internal and external marketing, and why is internal marketing so important?
Yeah, that's a good one. We see often that businesses want to skip or unintentionally skip the internal marketing. which without the internal marketing correctly set up in place, don't waste your time. Don't waste a penny on the external marketing. It's what I call holes in the bucket. If you don't know how to talk to your existing customers and retain them and upsell them and cross-sell and promotions, then you are just going to always be in a new customer acquisition mode. Many businesses, many industries have a finite number of outreach that they can even do.
Right.
They have a finite number of customers. We've talked about that in some of the mastermind groups.
Sure.
You have X number. Well, don't squander that. Be careful how you talk to them. So when you bring them in, it's all the more important to make sure that you retain them. So the internal marketing is about maintaining, is about having positive reviews. It's about having your customers referring you. It's about making them ambassadors so they believe in you enough and they see that you're vested in them enough that they want to actually promote you out. It's also selling to them. They're much more likely to buy. It's surprising. They already believe in you.
Right, right.
I think I talked about in the book, but there's a client that we work with or that worked with in the past who had, I think they had 7 different areas of practice for this business. And a lot of their customers had no idea that they offered the other areas of law. Just had no idea. And so they were going off and referring them out. All they had to do was walk down the hall. So for us to build an internal cross-pollination campaign, is what we called it because it sounded pretty cool, is that alone was all just in the offices of the hallways to refer each other. And building that out allowed us to significantly grow the practice without ever leaving the doors, just by reaching those people that were already coming in. So when you have the internal figured out, yes, external advertising is important. It's how you bring in new leads. But just don't bring in new leads and then not take care of them.
Any suggestions? Is there any data that supports the amount of touches that you think your internal marketing folks should have, the people that you already have? Is it monthly, semi-annually? How often? I guess it depends on what you're selling. I don't know.
It so depends on what you're selling.
Yeah.
I'll use my own business as an example.
Okay.
Is we have weekly touch points because we need it. Because of what we offer, because we do this hand-holding of comprehensive ongoing marketing and management. So our job is we're the heavy lifters for our clients. We're supposed to keep moving, making first downs. So every week we want them to know we made first downs because it allows them to see that we have our eye on the prize. They never guess where we're at. And so for us, it's weekly. Now, we've had a few clients complain that was too often.
Yeah.
But the majority of them didn't because they actually wanted that update. If they didn't get it, then they complained. I've seen for insurance industry that that we were able to get it to every 6 weeks with a supplemental contact in between. So it really just depends on your business, but you know the nuances of your business and you know the timing with your customers, or everybody should, and that you want to make sure that you have enough touch points. If you're retail, it's different. Retail, you have an opportunity to offer all kinds of upsells and other opportunities inside the store. So.
What do you think some of the secrets are in business to successful execution?
Execution is everything.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you know if there's no execution.
Right. And that sounds so simple, and it is. But I am in business because people don't execute. I am. Or because they don't want to, or they're not sure what to do next. So that's okay. But if you don't know what to do next, get somebody to help you. But execution is really everything. You've got to execute. And here's the biggest thing is I told someone today, start, right? How do you execute? Well, you start. Just start.
Tweak it as you go.
Get off the ground. Tweak it as you go. Yes. And I have something called PETMAG, which is your plan, execute, track, measure, adjust, and grow. PETMAG. And we follow that to say, hey, well, let's get this plan started. We don't want to stop. And 2 words we use here are without fail. So if there's something on your marketing calendar, without fail, get it done. We did a video recently and my team I didn't know what they were going to say. And every one of them at some point in the thing said without fail. It made me like a proud dad. They understood because that's our business is that without fail to get it done. And if you do that consistently, the rewards of consistency it's like what we talk about in the lead indicator, lag indicator for the 12-week year. It's very similar. Be consistent with it. And you will see results from it. Talk
about that book for a second. You took your whole team through it. Talk about the success you've had with that.
Yeah, that was really great. We were going through the 12-week year, and we implemented it, and our sales team implemented it as well. And it just got us all on the same page. So as an entrepreneur, I'm like many of you, where we can get distracted pretty easily. I'm good at keeping my clients on task, but man, I got a lot of projects going on too. So the 12-week year helped me personally to separate the things that were not top priorities right now and to focus on the things that must get done. It allowed me to lean back into my team and for my team also to be able to rally around something that we were all focused on. So we have our team's gotten great results. Our sales team all hitting we've hit our lead indicators every week without fail. Without fail.
Wow. Wow. I even know, not to spill too much of the beans about this, but you even said that you had to kind of pause around week 7 or 8 because the success was coming in at a pace that you weren't quite prepared for and you had to make some adjustments. That's pretty encouraging. Have a 12-week plan and you're having to adjust even in the middle of that.
Well, it happened today when the girls that works for me said, there's a bunch of meetings you've got to schedule. They're all CEOs. And so they're decision makers, which for me,
Yeah.
when I get to sit down with a decision maker, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's my role, is to sit down with decision makers and talk to them about our company sometimes. And I had on LinkedIn, I think she had 7 that I didn't know I had meetings with yet. So that was a big deal. My goal was 5 a week, and I already have my 5, or I have 10 a week. I've already got my 5 in Little Rock, 5 here, and had another 7 waiting. So yeah, we're pushing some of those out and then handing them off to other team members. So
Yeah. Well, that's pretty encouraging, guys, that are watching this right now. You need to, first of all, if you haven't read the 12-week plan, second of all, is execute. It's what we keep talking about. Execute, execute, execute.
yeah.
What's the difference, Derek, between making emotional and strategic decisions in marketing?
Yeah, this is something I've seen come up often. And it was one of my first clients, actually it was my first client ever, and he's still a client 9 years later, which is a good testament that we're taking care of him, Dr. Lais. But I helped him with some courses that he did at one point, and he talked about Maslow's hierarchy of need, and I had not heard of it that way with business, and talks about the top of the pyramid being self-actualization, which is morality, creativity, spontaneity, acceptance, experience, purpose, meaning, and then inner potential.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom of the pyramid is your physiological needs: food, shelter, air, clothing, and sleep. Mm-hmm. So think in your business when you're operating out of stress or making emotional decisions, good, bad, excitement, whatever it is, and you're operating from the bottom of that pyramid. I talk in the book about how it serves us well when we were cavemen because we were able to find our food and shelter. But now that we have those basic needs met and readily available, when we're running our businesses, we want to be acting from a strategic level because we make much better, longer lasting, purposeful decisions. I can tell you firsthand that I've seen many, many times. I know you have countless times and probably have done it like I have, make decisions out of it from an emotional standpoint.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And sometimes it turns out well because we have our gut, right? And a lot of times our gut steers us the right way. But when you can learn, and I've done this and practice it, and I have many clients that have, when you practice being strategic instead of emotional, and even when times are tough, mm-hmm. you make better decisions. And you also make decisions that are better and more lasting and peaceful for your entire team. Mm. And even when it's hard to do, because it is sometimes you want to take the shortcut. But if you have a vision and you hold your vision and you know what your end plan is and your objectives are, make those strategic decisions instead of emotional. It makes a big difference and you're rewarded for it.
Derek, the other thing is we need mastermind members around us. We need accountability guys around us. And oftentimes I'll make those emotional decisions when I'm tired.
Yes.
Because I just want to be done with it because I'm exhausted. And guys, I want to encourage you that are listening to this interview right now, don't make these important decisions emotionally when you're tired.
My wife can tell you of early on in our business. I remember one time we had a vendor in Kansas City, and my 2 words, without fail. And so if any one of my vendors doesn't let me meet my without fail, Derek gets a little bit worked up.
Right.
Because that's what I'm built. Everything I'm doing is built on that. So if I have an outside vendor or partner, they've got to deliver without fail.
Yeah.
It's what we do. And so early on in our business, we had one not delivering in Kansas City, wouldn't return phone calls, and I would have to get up. My wife would see me get up at 3 a.m. and go, I'm just going to drive over there. And it was very tired. There was decisions I made sometimes that weren't the best. Right. And it was just like you said, it was from stress. It was from lack of sleep and a lot of those things.
Right.
And so you want to, and the mastermind groups do a great job of giving that accountability and helping you see past right here.
Yeah, that's awesome. We talk about the shiny object syndrome all the time. What should we watch out for the shiny new objects in marketing?
Yeah, all of them.
Right.
Watch out for all of them.
Let the buyer beware.
I'm a tech guy. I love new technology. If you show it to me, if whatever it is, I'm probably gonna have it a week later if it's fun and I can use it for any reason. I'll find an excuse.
I raise my hand. I'm guilty too.
All right. Why do you need that again?
Right.
But I'll get it anyway. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that for your marketing and for making decisions that you shouldn't. So we just have too many things we're facing with too many decisions all the time. There's too many options.
Right.
So I don't get something new just because everybody's talking about it. That is a bad way to do your advertising, your marketing. If you've set a plan, that's another value of the plan, is you identify in the plan what your best options are. And there's not something that's going to come out tomorrow there might be, but there's probably not something that's going to be shiny that comes out tomorrow that's just going to change your entire world and your entire marketing plan. What you can do is take it and see how it fits in. We ask 3 questions. Whenever we build our plans, we have some questions and some rules that we put in place for clients too. And if it doesn't fit in those 3 rules, and hopefully I can remember them, but if it doesn't fit within those rules, we don't do it. I say, you're welcome to do it, and we talk about it up front. I say, you can do whatever you want. It's your business, it's your money, but don't put it in this plan. If it's not in here and it doesn't meet these criteria, which says it's going to add value to this exact plan and meet our objectives, it's going to add value to the relationships of the customer in a meaningful way that we need to consider it, and there's one other one, then we'll look at it. But otherwise, it's something you're doing for fun. Have fun with it, but go put it in your fun budget, because we're not going to take the shiny object right now. Too many businesses take that. I've seen them lose their shirt so many times. They go to a conference or they read a Facebook post that says this is the newest thing you got to do. Before you know it, they're in a 12-month contract, and then they're complaining to me at the end of the year when I meet them that it didn't work. Mm-hmm. And so it might have worked, but maybe it wasn't a good fit for what they were doing at the time. So don't grab a shiny object. Just don't. Now, it might be a good fit for you, but don't just grab it because it's new.
Right. Talk through it. Yeah. And don't chase all the shiny objects.
There's too many. I love that there's so many.
I know. It changes daily, doesn't it?
It changes every day. And I'm not saying be outdated. We love new things.
Well,
but
sure.
Make sure it fits.
We talk about this in coaching all the time. A lot of people say, will this work? Yes, that'll work. Well, will this work? Yes, that'll work too, but you can't do all of them. Let's get on a plan. Let's pick out 2 or 3 things and be an inch wide and a mile deep, and let's really exhaust those things. Yeah. Well, we all lie to ourselves periodically. What are some of the lies that businesses tell themselves in their marketing strategy?
So I'll give you a general one first. It's just a general overarching theme of this doesn't work. Anytime I hear someone say, when I do an audit, I like to do a little deep dive and find out what's going on. And often I hear it cracks me up, but I don't laugh, but direct mail doesn't work. Email marketing doesn't work. TV doesn't work. Radio doesn't work. And I right away go, it doesn't work. Well, why not? And usually, sometimes it's legitimate, but a lot of times it's because they didn't do the things we talked about earlier. They didn't have the right message. They didn't have the right graphics. They didn't execute properly. So if it wasn't built right, then maybe it didn't work. But don't just generalize, well, I heard direct mail doesn't work anymore. Really? Because I'm using it for some campaigns where it's knocking out of the park. Right. And other times I would never touch it. I've even heard that newspaper's dead. Of course. We all hear that. Who's doing ads in the newspaper anymore? I do some in a few markets, and we're killing it with it. We do a 2x4 ad for testosterone campaigns, for certain dental implant campaigns. I wouldn't touch it for anybody else. But sometimes it's a good fit. So just generalizing that something's dead. My main point is having the philosophy and the approach of, if you really understand who your customer is and your product, be open to what might work first before you just say it's dead. And understand why you're not picking it. Well, I'm not doing TV because of this. It might be the best fit for you. We do cable TV at 3 in the morning for $1 a spot, making our clients look like rock stars, and we're reaching people that we know can't sleep for some medical product that we're promoting. We're paying $100, or we're paying $1 instead of $600. Yeah. We're reaching people when they're even more likely to look at it and feel like they need to respond.
It goes back to understanding who you're fishing for, right?
Thank you. Yes. It all ties in together. If you do those first steps, then it makes it easier. So let me give you a couple others. Okay. One is we talked about there's nothing else out there like my product or service. We touched on that one. My product is so good I don't need marketing. We talked about that too. You want to make sure you have a plan in place. I've got someone I know closely, actually I'll share with you. It's my father-in-law, who for 30 years would click play on his message machine, and he would have 30 jobs, 20, 30 jobs in Long Island, big flooring company. And then sometimes it slows down, it's quiet. He just goes, it's slow. It doesn't have to be slow. See, when times are good and things are good, I'm not trying to go spend money with me on marketing. Just make sure you have a plan so you bottle up what was working and understand and reach out to your customers and build all those things now when times are good, so that if there is a lull or dip in your business, you understand why, you put it in perspective, and you have an outreach to, things aren't going to last forever the same way. So you want to make sure you're looking ahead. So even if you think your business doesn't need marketing, you still should have a plan of how it fits in your communication, even if it's just your internal communication with your customers. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I'm getting so much stuff out of this. I don't even know where to start. It's like, man, I'm ready to go get off this call and start marketing. So
I got a couple more.
no.
My customers know all the services that I have. Again, we've got customers we've got clients in all over the country. We've got one in Denver, a client that brags about how we're the best graphic design agency they've ever used. We're not a graphic design agency.
Right.
And we work with a Fred Pryor Seminars, is a big seminar company. They use us for brochures. They guilty on those. They don't know or didn't know until we started implementing this that we're so much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting about 1% of the value of what we do. And if that's all you need us for, great. But we have a responsibility to let you know that if you like this so much, imagine what we can do for you for the other things that we're really good at.
Right.
So you're just seeing the iceberg of what we can do for you.
Scratching the
surface. That's it, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then the two last ones, I just need to ride the technology wave. That's the shiny object.
Yeah.
Don't just rely on technology. Use it to improve your systems and processes and your communication, but make sure you understand. Don't make it a substitute. Last one, technology doesn't work for me. Those days are over. Everybody's being talked about whether they like it or not. When I say technology, I'm referring to social media as well, just all of the ways that it's advanced. Mm-hmm. I'll do a seminar sometimes and people say, well, I'm not going to be on social media. I'm like, you're on there. I'll pull it up right now. It's just whether you want to be a part of the conversation or not. Mm-hmm. It's past time where you can say, I'm not going to engage or embrace technology in some way. So
you're involved whether you want to be or not, right? And
you're part of the conversation.
Right. And engage it and use it. Well, guys, listen, I should have started this at the beginning, but I'll tell you now, a lot of you don't know this. Derek is the author to the book, Don't Buy a Duck. And my apologies that I didn't say that right out of the gate. It is an amazing book. Matter of fact, we've promoted it a lot, and I think you ran out at one time. How can they find the book? Where can they find it? And tell a little bit more about how they can connect with you. What's the best place to go if some of these guys want to do some of these marketing strategies with you?
Great. And I'll make this fast. The story behind the book, my mom, we grew up without a lot of means, and my mom always found a way to make things stretch. And we had this old panel station wagon van, and my mom would go to every yard sale no matter what. I remember being in college, my mom knocked on my door and said, hey, I found you a TV, and I talked them down to $5. What were they asking for at 10? I'm like, Mom, you could have paid the $10 for it. But so she was always willing to do it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mom.
Exactly. Yeah. I still do it to this day.
Yeah.
But we went to a yard sale, and the long story short is I bought a duck for no reason. 8 years old, bad purchase decision, had buyer's remorse, and that duck went crazy in the station wagon. Had to let it go, and I learned a lesson of this is poor money spent bad. Yeah. And so my analogy in this book, Don't Buy a Duck, is make sure before you spend another penny on advertising or marketing, if you don't have a full grasp on it, which don't feel bad, a lot of us don't. And it's marketing is a scary word to a lot of people, so you're not alone in that. But it doesn't have to be. I think it's fun. And when you read this book, you'll see how fun it is. You can text DUCK to 58885. And I've got resources for you that are a free marketing calendar that you can use for your team to keep you on track. I think there's a couple other bonus things that we have as well. And you go to Amazon.com or don'tbuyaduck.com and get the book.
Derek, this is awesome. And guys, seriously, this book, I don't get a quarter out of any of this stuff. So I'm promoting Derek because I believe in him and he's an awesome guy. But like people like Seth Godin have endorsed this book. So this is a for real book. This is the for real deal. And it is amazing. I love reading it because it's so applicable. It's easy to understand. I mean, you can walk you right through this book. And when you get through, it's like, oh my goodness, this is really, really great marketing strategy. So thank you for writing the book. It's
you bet. Thanks. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you for spending this time with us, Derek. I enjoyed it. Guys, reach out to Derek if you have any marketing needs. Yes. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. See you, man.